Hey, it's Garland, and this is the INPowered Way. On this episode of the INPowered Way, I want to talk about something that's an important part of my teaching, and that's the phrase, GodLove. I've thought about that quite a bit over the last several years about how I should use that phrase, or if I should use it at all. And I finally decided that it was important that I did use it, and now I think it's important that I explain why I use it, so you'll understand it. I grew up in a conservative family, conservative Christian family. My father was career military, and so you put all that together and have someone who kind of learns to follow orders early, which I did, I guess. But anyway, my dad wanted me to be a preacher. I was the firstborn, so I'm sort of the spin-off. You know, I'm the next version. I'm Garland McWatters 2.0, I guess. And I'm a junior, and I'm also born on his birthday. So you put all that together, and guess what? My die was kind of cast a little bit, you know, early on. And so, but anyway, that's been a blessing that I've actually enjoyed in my life, is to be my father's namesake. And I know that he always wanted the best for me, and he thought that by instilling in me his value system, that was probably the best he could do. And so I appreciate that, even though later on in life I came by my own set of understandings about God and the Bible and things of that nature. But I know he was always had my best interest in his heart, and he was very proud of me during the years that I was a minister. I'm not sure about after that, but during that time, he was very proud to introduce me as his preacher son. So having an understanding of a God in my life has been an important part of my life for a long time, even though I've never really fully understood what all that meant. And I think, like many people, I'm still working on it, or I work on it. And we try to find some comfort with our belief or our faith or our sense of spirituality or religion or dogma or whatever it might mean to us, because our belief is important to us. It does mean something to us, and it should. And you should know why you believe what you believe, and you should feel good about who you are and what you believe. I believe that there's a lot of ways that we can understand our world and our understanding of our world and how it came to be and what it all means, and feel good about it, especially if it helps bring out the best in us, and I hope that's what it does. And so when I talk about GodLove, I talk about it in a very specific way, and probably not the way you think about it. But I want to explain how I came by it and why I think about it the way I do, so at least you'll have some appreciation for the thought that I've put into it. Like I said, I grew up in a religiously conservative faith and a Christian faith. And so we were just taught certain things about God, and that's just the way it was. We read the Bible, and that explained God. And so that's the way I came up. But along the way, I didn't understand a lot of it. It seemed sort of fantastical to me that certain things about God as we envisioned God to be a little bit difficult to get. And then I read in Ecclesiastes that wouldn't be unusual, because as Ecclesiastes, the writer of Ecclesiastes says that God set eternity in the hearts of men, but we have not been able to fathom what God has done from beginning to end. In other words, it's hard for us to understand what God might be. God is reported to say in the Bible that he's hard to understand. He's hard to get. We wouldn't be able to get it. So he would present himself to prophets and others in ways that would be something that they could kind of comprehend, because there's no way you can actually comprehend God. Okay, I buy that. I don't comprehend God that way. And so, but we've always been taught through our religious art, let's say, that God is a long, white-bearded man on the cloud and so forth, and we have some anthropomorphic conceptions of what God is and what God should look like. And even throughout history, all kinds of walks of faith have tried to explain God in some way. And I even did some research on kind of where the word God came from, and it's not actually clear. But it seems to carry the idea that these supernatural metaphysical beings were those who are so much greater, larger, and powerful than we human beings are, that they are worthy of our praise. They're worthy of our lavishing things upon them, anointing them, and so forth, or worship. And so the phrase that sort of came out of trying to express that was basically the term God. So that's just what it means, worthy of praise, I suppose. And there were many gods in those days of trying to understand, gods of harvest and gods of certain kinds of season and fertility and life and many other things. Seemed to be gods were attributed to some aspect of those things that we saw in our daily life. And so gods have always been around us or with us, and we have come to some sort of a description of God as we could imagine them to be. And so that's what we came to know as God in various versions of it. And in the Christian faith, we have the idea that our God is the God, the one and only real God. In fact, in the Old Testament is full of stories of the prophets doing battle with the prophets of other gods, kind of saying like, "What, my God's better than your God. My God's bigger than your God, more powerful than your God." So we've had that in our culture, in our religious background, our religious culture forever. And I respect that. And the stories are fantastical. And so what do you do with that? Because people still believe that there's something greater than human beings. There's something greater out there. But we don't know what to do with it, don't know what to call it. Either on the one hand we say it's just God and that's who it is, and we are subject to that God, or it's some other variation of things. And so everyone seems to have an idea. So I've struggled with that. I wrestled with, well, how do I square my feelings and beliefs about that kind of a power energy with how to express it and how to honor that it's there, that it is actually there. I'd also call myself a man of prayer. And I say that rather seriously, because in my Christian faith, or during my Christian faith, I grew up learning to pray and feeling like prayer offered something. And even later on, as I looked at other expressions of prayer, whether it might, I don't know what it might be called in the metaphysical world, as some spiritual connection, or some people talk about channeling and things of that nature with beings who are or metaphysical or super spiritual or whatever. So they believe in that. And I was taught, I grew up praying, and I know that when I prayed and I gave myself fervently to the effort, very often I would say prayers were answered. And I can have a whole episode just on all the prayers that I believe were answered on my behalf. And so I really believe in that. I believe there's an energy there of prayer. And but it wasn't until I began reading in quantum science, quantum physics, several years back, that I began having other possible answers to that phenomenon in my life, that phenomenon of answered prayer. And also some understanding of what God might be, because as I studied quantum physics and the people who were writing about that, they talked about the idea was that we were trying to get to the most elemental particles of the universe, out of which all things were made, and what we've come to believe in the quantum science is that there isn't one. There isn't anything like that. In fact, there's a big mystery of exactly what it might be, and I guess maybe the most common and often believed idea or theory is that all that we are made of is actually wave and particle, the wave-particle duality. It's a wave of energy. And sometimes it manifests itself as particles of energy when we can identify them individually, but really waveforms or thought forms. And so when you look at the Bible of the scriptures and the times that we're told that things are given to thought, that God willed the universe into existence, which we say created, and then he spoke, it really talks about intentionality and thought. And so thought is a big part of that story, the logos and the word and all those kinds of things. And that seems to really kind of dovetail into some of the concepts of quantum physics. And so that there is this unknowable and extremely impressive God-like energy that in fact many quantum scientists call God. And also along with it, they call the power of attraction, that the universe is a field of attraction Gravity is a field of attraction. Things are attracted to each other. And this energy, this all-powerful energy, is energy that permeates everything. Everything is made of this energy. It's an energy that is not a thing. And we don't even know what that energy actually is. No one can identify it, but they know it's there. They, meaning the scientists, said, well, we know there is an energy there, but they just call it dark energy because they don't really have an explanation for it. Well, I get to thinking, I think, well, that's kind of like what the Bible says about God. That energy is there, although they can't fully really describe everything about it. So later on in life here, the last few years, I've not had any real difficulty saying, okay, well, whatever you want to call it, I'll go with the word God. I don't understand it, but I know there's an energy that is there. Scientists know that there's an energy that is there, and that this energy has many, many properties that create the world that we see and know and sort of begin to understand something about it. And then you add on top of that the idea that of love. Now, where I come by that is this idea of this energy that is a wholesome energy that creates things in its most positive form. I call that GodLove. The Bible says several times that God is love, and that God is loving, that the things that come from God are full of love, that they manifest themselves in ways that demonstrate this love in action. And so I kind of say the energy from which we all come is God, and the way it manifests itself in our experience is through love. So I say GodLove. To me, they kind of go together. GodLove goes together. And so when I say, I hope that you can unleash the creative energy of GodLove so that you can create a wholesome world, a world that's wholesome and soulful and joyful for you and all around you. Well, I think that's what I really want to be teaching. That's what I want to be about and enjoy being about, and I feel good about being about that. I can talk about GodLove and the manifestations of GodLove because everything that's not that is not love. It is non-love. It is against love. In fact, that's really actually the message of the Bible itself. There are the things of love, and then there are the things of non-love. And all sin, when you sin and fall short of the glory of God, the way it says it in the Bible, you basically are in the realm of non-love. You're in unloving behaviors and unloving attitudes and unloving ways and unloving habits. You are in GodLove or you are not in GodLove. And I'm not really that black and white about it necessarily, but I do feel pretty strongly about that, is that you manifest those things that come from GodLove or you do not. And if you do not manifest those things that come from GodLove, you're kind of on that side of the equation where people say, no, you shouldn't be doing that. It's selfish, it's evil, it's vile very often, it's hurtful, it's mean, and it's contrary to the spirit and nature of God and of GodLove. And so I don't have any problem with saying I'm all about the GodLove thing. I believe that when we try in our best in our life to emulate things that are of GodLove, we're going to be more on the right track. I haven't always done that myself, and most of us have not. Some of us have failed really bad. Some of us have failed really bad sometimes, and we tried to make it better. But we've never been perfect about it. But I think we can really hold that standard of GodLove high in our own lives and hearts and say we're striving for that. We're really trying to be that. And so that's why I try to encourage people to be about GodLove. That's why I say it every chance I get. Because it's not preaching. It's just saying as human beings, as people who are a part of the energy and image of God, because I do kind of believe we have we do have some aspect of that in us, that we are made of that same stuff, that we are all connected together in the same energy, that we are one with God and God is one with us, and we are one with each other and we are one with our creation. I believe all of that is consistent with quantum science, and it's consistent with the spiritual concepts that are presented in not only the Christian Bible, but also most other spiritual writings and faiths, that we're familiar with. And so I don't see any inconsistency at that at all. I believe in GodLove. I talk about GodLove. I believe that GodLove is the energy that is available to each and every one of us to manifest. That's why I say, let's unleash that energy. Unleash the creative energy of God love to make your world more wholesome and joyful and soulful as it can possibly be. And to do that, I simply say, in my own experience, there are some things that I try to do. I try to enliven my heart. I want my heart to be full of this love and to be alive and well and whole in this sense of the spirit of love. Enliven my heart, enlighten my mind, to make myself intellectually sharp and to make myself intellectually curious, and to enlighten myself by continuing to learn all the time. When I learn something new, I bring it into my life and I try to make it an appropriate part of my life. I don't say, oh no, that's not right. I really work at trying to make sure, or hopefully be sure, that I am intellectually honest about the things that I believe, and I know why I believe them. Because I know if I'm able to do that, enliven my heart and enlighten my mind, that I'll be able to, encourage my spirit, to build the courage inside of me to do the right things and to stand for the right things and to stand against the wrong things or the impure things, and try to do my very, very best, to live up to my own understanding of God love. And because if I do all of that, I think I will actually, on an ongoing daily basis, enlarge my expectations of living. My life will just keep getting better. And so I really believe in those things, and I hope that you understand and can appreciate why I come from that space. And I hope that in your own journey, as you're looking for your empowered way, the way that works for you and makes your life pure and whole and good for you, you'll find maybe some of these ideas to be important to you and that might be meaningful to you in some way. I hope that you'll continue to listen to the Empowered Way, because I don't have 7 steps and it's this way. I think the Empowered Way is your way. The Empowered Way is understanding and knowing and believing in your way that works for you, with a set of wholesome principles that you can believe and understand and explain and live consistently in such a way that you help people and you make people whole and wholesome and joyful and soulful, and you're not selfish and self-serving and hurtful to people for your own self-interest. I hope we never go there. So I hope that you'll continue to listening. If you want to learn more about my work in the Empowered Way, you can go to my website, livempowered.com. And also I encourage you to listen to my weekly podcast called Empowering Thoughts. I'm Garland McWatters. Join me on the Empowered Way.